Hello guys and welcome to Nostalgia Overload Part 2. So today we're going to be looking at the British Airborne. In the previous video we looked at German infantry and I put a little thing out there where if it hit a certain amount of likes within a certain time frame I would create this video. So you guys absolutely smashed it, so we're going to be doing the same. If I can get 200 likes in the first 48 hours of this video, then I'll create another Nostalgia Overload video. But these miniatures are the British Airborne from ESCI/Italeri, and they are actually really nice. And the reason I'm going to tell you that they're nice because in terms of the quality they're exactly the same as the German infantry, but their equipment is varied between each model, which is absolutely different to the German infantry. All the infantry and that sprue had exactly the same webbing and equipment on them, whereas these are varied, so that's a very nice touch, especially considering their age, etc. So yeah, really worth investing if you're into these types of miniatures. Now, in the previous video I said I had no idea where these miniatures came from. I have worked it out. It was part of the Pegasus British Airborne Assault set from Italeri. Lovely set. I think you might even be able to grab them still if you're interested in this sort of thing. Now, once you're going to be painting your miniatures, you want to start off with a Tamiya Surface Prime Light Grey. That's my go-to primer. And then we want to hit that iconic British Airborne smock with khaki. It's going to be very similar to the Rhodesian painting guide that I put out just recently in terms of painting that Denison smock, that iconic Denison British Airborne smock. But go with khaki. You can also choose Middlestone as well. It's really up to you. Khaki I think looks a little bit more realistic, but again it's down to your flavour, especially a smaller scale. US dark green is going to be what we're going to be using for his helmet. That's also applicable for any of his like sort of ammunition crates. Perhaps he's got a Piat, grenade, that kind of thing. US dark green is definitely going to be the go-to colour for those bits of equipment and weaponry. Now for the camo pattern, we're going to be using refractive green. Again, that US dark green could probably be used, but I like to change up my shades of green so it all doesn't just look the same and blend into the same sort of thing, even though the helmet is completely away from the smock. That's my justification for adding in more unnecessary paints, but the refractive green actually is a very nice green for this. And what you want to do is add nice blobs and let your brush do the work, so you can see that I'm not pulling off the brush too early and letting that brush do all those nice fine little lines. And then do the same, so you want to overlap some of those with saddle brown, so our brown. You want to overlap over the green. You can leave some just overlapping and then some like majorly overlapping. Really break it up, vary it up nicely. Again, just nice big paintbrush lines and marks, letting your paintbrush do the work. Don't add a massive blob of paint on because it just looks a bit too silly. You can see there where there's nice sharp little points and they're all going to sort of overlap with one another. Now with that done, you want to go ahead and hit the webbing with US Olive Drab. Now the thing with the British Airborne and the British in particular, they had this, I can't remember what it's called, this green powder that would actually apply to their webbing. Obviously, so it wasn't that sort of khaki colour. However, if you've got a figure that's got some extra magazines for say his Sten gun, then you could paint those in that traditional khaki colour just to mix it up, but it's up to you if you don't want to do that. And then using that same colour I paint his gaiters in that colour. Now for his actual trousers, and if you can see parts of his uniform underneath the smock, English uniform, obviously it's very applicable to this part of the uniform because it is his English uniform. I think Vallejo have got this colour pretty good, to be fair to them. And then I'm also going to be painting the water bottle in that colour as well. Now for any of the wooden aspects of this miniature, I'm going to be painting that in flat earth. So that's the Lee Enfield, obviously the Bren as well, and also his entrenching tool that's on his back, and any other wooden items that this chap might be carrying, or any other figure in this set. And then for the metal areas, I'm going to be going ahead and hitting those with black grey. Again, it's quite a bit of detail on these rifles, actually quite long as well. So try and get those details if you can. See, there's just a little clip there that goes across the 2 bits of wood, and then we're going to capture the very top of the rifle there where the iron sight and the bolt mechanism, etc. would be. Then the boots, we're going to be painting those in black. So it's pretty straightforward. Probably don't need to show you too much of this, but again, a nice fine brush to do the work there. And then Iraqi sand for the top of that water bottle. You could use khaki, and just thinking ahead here, you can use khaki if you had a rifle sling as well. And talking about khaki, we can also use that for his chin strap. Now, this might be a bit controversial. Some people might say they weren't khaki coloured, but the ones I've seen from Market Garden were khaki coloured, and this is what I'm basing my figures from, so, or some of them were at least anyway. And then to wash the figure, I'm using no oil and technical medium at a 1:1 ratio. It's a black wash that's just been thinned down just to make it less dark and easier to flow. So I'm using that khaki, I'm going over the uniform. Now this is the really tricky part, and it's not tricky, it's really not tricky, so don't take that for what it actually means. By tricky I just mean the uniform. Getting the uniform right is tricky, but this part is really easy. We're just going over the areas of khaki that we can see, and that black wash isn't dark enough that it's ruined our model where we can't see them. So I've just gone over those khaki spots, that's all I've done, and now I'm going to do the same with that refractive green. If the khaki, for example, is going over a pocket, I'm going to leave the pocket, the recess of the pocket, in that dark based washed colour, and everything else is going to get paint, if you get my gist. So it's a form of layering, even though we've got camo bits going over the top of it. So there is a knack to it, but it's very easy to do, and hopefully this video is at least showing you, because my explanation is probably terrible. And then we're going over that brown in saddle brown. So I'm painting those blotches of colour. I'm tidying them up. If I feel like there needs a little bit more, I'll add that. But I'm trying to leave a very minute outer edge of dark brown base colour and green, and painting the rest, the inside of it, in that colour. Now this is where the fun begins, because we've got the uniform pretty much essentially done. I'm now going over with khaki, and I'm adding a few little lines, not in the middle of the blotches, but just on the outer edge. I'm also taking this opportunity to highlight pockets and the outer edge, so where like the smock, the leg part of the smock is meeting that English uniform, perhaps the like collars, etc., just to make those details pop a lot more. And then once you've got that done, you've done the smock, the hardest part is complete. Now it's all about doing everything else. So we go back over those trousers in English uniform, and this is a layer. This is our first and only layer. We'll go to a highlight after this, but I'm normally very generous with these. You can see that I'm being very generous. Again, just letting that paintbrush do the majority of the work for me. What I mean by that is I'm letting that tip do the work. There's very little paint on there, but what paint is on there is covering the areas I want to cover nicely. So for that highlight, we're using English uniform and khaki grey at a 1:1 ratio. And I say it's a highlight, but it's more like a layer, a second layer, because I'm very generous again with this colour. I'm picking out those raised edges, but I'm picking them out quite extensively, not just like a little tiny line, because I like subtle highlights. I don't like just unrealistic highlights, in my opinion anyway. I like subtle highlights. And then we want to dry brush the netting on that helmet. So we use that German camo beige, just get an old beat up old brush and just highlight it. Dry brush as best you can, because in their infinite wisdom they put the sprue, meaning support bracket thing, on the top of his helmet. So you lose a little bit of detail on that, but I think it's come out pretty nicely. And then we're going to highlight the top of that water bottle cap with Iraqi sand. and that is literally like a line across the top and a line across where the base of the cap meets the fabric of the water bottle. Now for those chin straps, we can go over them in khaki. So again, you could have done this during the Denison Smock stage, but that's okay. I thought I'd separate it so you could see the difference. And then to highlight that chin strap, I'm using khaki and stone grey. And this would be exactly the same as well if he had a rifle sling. I'd be using this khaki and khaki stone grey mixture for that rifle sling or weapon sling. Then for the webbing, we're going over it in US Olive Drab. So I'm being very generous, as you can see, that I'm painting pretty much all of that strap on the top, that reinforced padding, but I'm leaving a little bit of that dark washed base color between where that strap goes to another strap there, and just leaving all those little details dark and green, and then applying the original color again over the top of it. And then US Olive Drab and German Camo Beige at a 1:1 ratio, and you can see I'm scratching in the detail now. So I might add a line along the edge and then a bigger line in the middle, just to show that the strap is broken. We can see exactly what I'm talking about now. So I do that, and then I'm going to then apply a line across the middle. Sorry, focus has gone out a little bit there. A few little lines to show the little brackets and stuff that hold the webbing together. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I'm terrible at explaining stuff, guys. I do apologize. And then flat earth for the rifle. So all I'm doing here, guys, is I'm very lazy. I'm just adding in lines, lots of little lines, just to try and show some sort of like wood grains, etc. It's a very lazy way of doing the rifle, but it looks pretty good in my opinion, and it's quick. So then flat earth and orange brown, repeating the exact same process, just not being as heavy. So you'd probably start off with more flat earth, and then you would do the same with the flat earth orange brown, but just reduced amount of paint that you're putting in there, and it's literally just lines, as you can see here. And then to finish it off, we go with orange brown. Now, orange brown is very orange, as the name would suggest. So I'm just adding a few little lines, nothing too major, just scratching them in there. Again, the scratching method, I go on and on about it, but it is the best method to use when painting this scale of figure, because your chance of error is a lot lower, because you've got a lower amount of paint on that tip. So then I'm using black grey for the medal, and this guy's got a sniper. I stole a scope from the German sprue set just because you get a million snipers in that set, there's no need for them. I thought this guy would make a fantastic looking sniper. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that, if you think that's a pretty cool decision. It was very easy to do, and I think he's come out absolutely great. And then black grey and basalt grey as a second layer for our medal. You can see I'm picking out a lot of those details there. That scope's really starting to stand out now. It's starting to really look the part. Adding in a few little lines, etc., where the iron sight is. You know, this is where you can really make the magazine pop when you go to your final highlight and you use that basalt grey now. So I'm just highlighting that bolt. I'm going to highlight each individual part of that scope there. And then I move on to that little bracket, and then the iron sight and the nozzle. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm not going to show you the flesh today because I cover that in the German tutorial, so I'm going to be very cheeky and ask you to go and watch that if you want to see how I painted flesh. Just gives me an extra view. Help me try and defeat that algorithm, guys. It is so bloody difficult to defeat, but yes, very enjoyable. Now here comes the fun stuff. If you enjoy miniatures and you've only ever known plastic miniatures like this, check out AB Figures. Here are some examples that are going to come up now. They are lovely, lovely figures, and they are far superior to these Italeri figures. Don't get me wrong, they're very, very nice figures when compared to Airfix and Revel, but these AB figures are fantastic. The only downside for you would be that they are metal if you're not into metal figures. I would highly recommend them. They are my favourite British Airborne figures, probably in any scale, and that's a very, very tough decision to make, but it is my my go-to, I think. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. As I said, 200 likes in the first 48 hours of this video. Then we will cover Nostalgia Part 3. Perhaps we'll go with something a little bit different, like Airfix or Revel. Let me know in the comments, what would you like to see? But don't forget to hit that like button, give me a comment, and let's really smash this goal. 48 hours, 200 likes, and let's get another video going. Huge thank you goes out to my Patreons and YouTube channel members. Special mention also goes out to my Panzer Aces. That's Patrick, Oscar, Panzer Jim, James and Colin. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you so much for being those aces. Alright guys, that's enough of me carrying on. I'm going to leave it here, and I will catch you at the next one.